With a couple weeks away from OTAs and 1 week away from a bunch of different signings and releases, I figured it was time for us to predict the 2026 Commanders roster here on BIB. Let's have a good time. Ladies and gentlemen, Burgundy ballers and football fans, welcome back to the Ballin and Burgundy podcast here on YouTube. It's your boys, Jon and Nick, back at it again. Nick, what's happening?
What's up, man? Glad to be back for another one.
Hey, glad to be back for another one. We doing these a little tight. We had Kay on earlier in the week. Right. We got this coming out later today, and then we have the Burgundy breakdown later tonight, obviously being Monday. So you're getting a little bit of Ballin and Burgundy podcast throughout the weekend. I got something planned on for later in the week, so y'all stay tuned. But I figured it was time we get ahead of this 8-ball and we get to predicting the Commanders roster, because looking at the roster, some places are looking a little thin, some places are looking too thick. It's like an uneven steak.
And not that good thick.
No. Not all that good thick. Like,
yeah, not
too much fat thick. On the.
Yeah, right. Got that chewy fat. Yeah, we don't want that. Yeah,
that chewy fat. No matter how you render it, it just don't sit right. It's
not the melt like butter fat. It's that gristly, oh God. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're like you feed it to your dog. I don't condone that. I'm just saying, but some people do that. Yeah.
Right.
So I say we kind of hop right in. For those who are watching, like, share, and subscribe here on BIB. We're on the road to 1,100 subscribers. We're at 1,088. So hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend about BIB. Share with your friends. Share with your family. Hit your subscribe button on the way out. So we're going to kick things off with offense. Obviously, I think this is because of an easy topic. I'm going based off of last year's roster in terms of how many I'm going to think is going to make it. Okay. Some areas going to be up for discourse, especially on the defense, but I think the offense, it's going to be the same as last year's roster. So starting off with the quarterbacks, I've got 3.
Yeah, I think we both agree on the same 3 too. I mean, I'm pretty sure. But.
Yeah. I think it's easy. I think it's Jayden Daniels. I think it's Marcus Mariota. I think it's Ethan Kaliakmanis.
That's day 1 of OTAs up until preseason week 1, and then week 1 in the regular season. I totally agree.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Obviously, and full disclaimer, obviously we're not accounting for injuries, because injuries are injuries, man. If they happen, we're not here to predict it. Otherwise, I'd bet my life savings on it, become a billionaire overnight. So
correct. Exactly.
Yeah. I totally agree. You got to have the 2 guys you've had for the past 2 seasons, and then you don't just draft a guy who would have probably went undrafted just because you still love Team Wolf. So
right, Team Wolf is fantastic.
I was trying to think of a nickname off flies. First thing came in my head.
That's hilarious. I was saying he's, the next Dove or the next L'Oreal, model, but Teen Wolf is fantastic. There are some people who have discourse saying they don't think it's going to be Ethan. It could be another vet. It could not be. And like you said, you don't draft him. Yes, right. It's in the 7th round, but you don't bring him in on a top 30 visit as the only quarterback in that top 30. You don't get the phone calls he got on draft day from AP and DQ and QB's coach on day 3 in the 7th round to go, he ain't making the roster. He's making this roster whether we like it or not. And he's way better than look. We also aren't trying to downplay Sam Hartman, because we aren't for people losing their jobs, but we know whose job is going to get lost in camp. It's going to be Sam's.
Yeah, I mean, when you're sitting there in preseason last year and you're sitting there talking about, you've got 50-50 of Commanders fans out here talking, they want Josh Johnson. Like, I mean, that's when you're saying that about
that tells you
Josh Johnson, but I mean, look at his career. He's 55 years old. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like he is a glorified NFL backup, and that's what he's made his career on. Hey, good for him. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, yeah, like you said, even if he has a horrible preseason and starts an entire first game or third game, however we decide to run it this year, right? Even if it's terrible, he's a rookie. They drafted him. They're not going to just not play him. Now, if something crazy fell in our lap, because let's say Marcus breaks a finger or something that only takes 8 weeks to heal, so he'll be back eventually. And I don't know, give me it. Derek Carr's the only name that's popping up in my head right now, but obviously something like that fell in our lap for a solidified backup for Jayden, and then Marcus comes back. I could see Ethan riding it out on the practice squad, but there's no doubt in my mind he's going to make the 53. No doubt about it. So
no doubt. I think the next room we're going to talk about, and we're just going to go in order on how kind of these rosters go, is running backs. Good. Last year they kept 4. I think this year they keep 4.
Yeah,
and I think it's a pretty simple 4.
Okay. Yep, and then obviously Bill and Rashad, we obviously know for a fact, and same thing piggybacking off the Ethan thing is Katron for sure.
Yep. Fat man.
Yeah, and then McNichols, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Again, I don't think this is controversial. I don't think this is lights out clickbait. I think they're going to keep 4. I think your 1-2 punch is going to be Bill and Rashad. I think your third down back could be Katron, and McNichols is a great pass protecting, blocking running back who can also catch out the backfield. And because we knew what he did last year, he kind of did it all. He ran, he caught, he blocked, but we're not going to depend on him to do it all, though. You have Bill, you have Rashad, you have Katron, but it's nice to have someone's veteranness of a Jeremy McNichols, and we all were like, oh, well, he may not come back. We want to C-Rod. Well, C-Rod left. They like J-Mac. We kind of know how that's going to go down.
Yeah, and truthfully, if you look at the roster here, you literally have the exact same thing. Bill and Eckler, you know what I'm saying? Say you run in those two. Rashad's a pass catching back, labeled that. Don't get me wrong, I think he can tote the rock as well. And sure. Katron is a younger C-Rod, 100%. And Jeremy McNichols is, like you said, a solid pass blocking, pass catching option out of the backfield. He knows the coaches. Now, I'm not going to say the system because nobody knows the system, right? But he knows the coaches. The coaches are familiar with him. So, if it's one of those things let's say, for example, we're inside the red zone and it's 4th and 6, and we're down 10 with 5 minutes to go, and we have to get a touchdown or whatever it is, or we're down 6 or 5 or whatever. Now it's 4th and 5. Jeremy McNichols is a great option, right? Because now if it's 4th and goal and there's literally 1 second left on the clock and we're down 5 or 6, now you've got Katron at the goal line to just run it. I think we have a really good complementary of that third down role as well as the starting role, because Rashad can start in the league. I mean, he did in Tampa. And they went younger, and that's their loss and our gain. So I liked what we got. And yeah, you know what I mean? I like C-Rod a lot too, but going younger with the exact same style of back, but in Katron, who actually led a Big Ten powerhouse all time over Saquon and all those big names like that. That's an upgrade in my opinion. So
it's an upgrade.
Yeah.
This is now where the conversation. Yeah. This is where the conversation now, you could say, hasn't upgraded in terms of pass catchers. I'm doing receivers and tight ends together. I'm starting with receivers. I think they have to keep 6. They kept 5 last year. I would go 6.
Yeah, and
based on how the roster is.
This is what got me in trouble last year when I did my 53 man on the actual Commanders Field Pass page, is that I put 6 because I only put 3 tight ends, because we had so many tight ends that do the exact same thing, man. And in my opinion, last year was the make it or break it for Senate. So that's why another reason I put 3. But now this year going into it, like we know what we got. Like you've got to get the pass catching options as you're at your receiver spot, and we'll just live with 3 tight ends and 2 that are amazing, outstanding blockers more than they are receiving. But we'll live with that. You know what I mean? So
And this is based on the current roster, guys. We can talk about later if we kind of have time, and we probably will. Who we could add, who we could sign. I've got a video coming out later in the week with another guest making their debut on the channel in terms of what wide receiver we could be doing. So stay tuned for that later on this week. Based on current roster.
Yeah, I was going to say, and also this is not a depth chart. This is a roster.
This is a roster.
Let's get that put out there real quick too. So
made it out of the way. Terry, obviously. Antonio, obviously.
Yep, going back to the
and Jaylen. Yeah. Luke and Jaylen. I'm sorry. It's obvious they stay. Those are your special teams. Those are your punt returns, your kick returns. They were high on both drafting him. They've been high on both during the rehab process. Luke was looking, as much as you can in T-shirts, shifty during phase 2 of OTAs, which we haven't talked on yet, but that's A-okay. News moves fast in this league. They brought back Diami, so they liked him. And then I would bring in I would do Treylon over Van Jefferson. Has the connection with Jayden already, knows Blau from last year. And frankly, like you're always going to sign someone like a Van Jefferson. Doesn't mean you're always going to keep him around.
Yeah, and I think they've been saying it. So shout out 1067, but they've been saying it for a couple weeks, man. Like ever since the signing, especially Finley, man. It's like he's a camp body with not high upside, but he's a vet in the league. He's been around. He's played for some teams. You know what I mean? It's kind of like who knows, right? Who knows? And back to what you said, Luke McCaffrey, in my opinion, was a better return man than Jaylen Lane at some kick returner. Like Luke, Jaylen Lane's got the punts down. Like that's for sure.
That's his thing. That's his bread and butter.
Exactly. Like he's more comfortable in the oh shit moments rather than okay, let me catch it. Now let me move.
Right.
And then now people start moving. Like he's better in chaos, where Luke McCaffrey's okay, this is the play. I'm running to the left in this gap at this hole. And if they don't block, I'm getting crushed, and he just lives with it. So, me personally, I'm actually a little higher on the Treylon Burks thing. And like I said, I know this isn't the depth chart. I'm thinking more along the lines of instead of a Burks or Van, I'm thinking it's going to be more is it going to be Diami or Van? I think Treylon is actually going to be more how do I put it this way without sounding I'm not trying to contradict myself, but basically we know what Luke and Jaylen are in this league, right? They are slot guys, okay? You know what I mean? But in my opinion, if the season started tomorrow, I truly think that it would be Terry and Treylon on the outside in a 4-man receiver group with Antonio Williams, and you take your pick with Lane and Luke rather than it being Terry, Antonio, Diami, Luke, and then, maybe Treylon rotates in every, on, certain packages. Right. I think it's going to be more of a staple than a rotational piece, in my opinion.
No, I'll give you that. I will give you that. And again, Antonio Williams was a slot at Clemson, but when Dabo's talking about it, Blau's talking about it, DQ's talking about it, AP's talking about it, pundits, correspondents, and scouts are saying you put him. You can play. He's going to play plenty at the Z. He's going to play plenty at the slot. We're going to use him on the outside. They're going to move him around for good reasons too. And I've said it before. If Clemson wasn't a crapshoot this past year, he was a projected day 1 pick. We got him in the late day 2.
Yeah, and out of all years where Clemson is, on the downfall, that's unfortunate for him. But yeah, I agree. In years past, he's definitely, definitely a top 5. Who knows? Just depending on the team, a top 3 receiver taken. Right. But yeah, and look at what we did last year. You know what I mean? Obviously we had injuries, but Luke, Jaylen, Treylon, they all played on the outside and in the slot. You know what I mean? So Debo too, but Debo, that's not a good example because he's been that gadget guy his whole life.
Yeah,
but yeah, I agree. I totally agree with these 6 for sure.
Yeah, these are the 6 tight ends. If we're keeping 6 wide receivers, I would say keep 3 tight ends to balance it out. Yeah, obviously you have Chika Okonkwo. I'll fix that. You've got John Bates. You've got Ben Sinnott.
Yeah.
Okonkwo. I'm gonna fix it, guys. Don't worry. But I would have those as my 3. I think you can mix in a Colson Yankoff or Lawrence Cager through the season. But I think if you're going to start the 53 right now, if you're keeping 6 receivers, you're only keeping 3 tight ends.
Yeah, and when we did the running backs earlier, and I do think we keep 4 running backs rather than 4 tight ends. However, though, Katron is a huge, X factor in my opinion. If he goes out in preseason and he is doing it all, like I said in that game, where Ethan starts, because Katron will be the starting back when he's starting. If he goes out there and he has 3 to 5 catches for 50, 60 yards, and gets the ball 12 to 15 times for 100 yards, they're going to cut Jeremy McNichols. I could see it. Damn. I truly could see it, especially if we bring Ertz back.
Yeah.
If Ertz re-signs, that's a guaranteed 4 tight ends are going to be on the roster. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Well, that's if, and that's an if too.
You talking about if Ertz comes back?
If Ertz comes back, yeah.
Yeah, if Ertz comes back, we go 4 tight ends, 3 running backs, in my opinion.
Okay.
Or they could just say screw it and just go with 2 quarterbacks and keep Ethan on the practice squad.
Yeah.
Doesn't the emergency quarterback count towards the non-active or some shit? Because
it gets weird.
Look on actives and they're on the inactive, but at the same time, they are the emergency quarterback. So I don't think they count towards the 53. So they could just get cute with it that way. Run 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, and tight ends.
Yeah, it's gonna get real interesting what they decide to do there. But I would do the 2. I really don't think at this rate they're bringing back Ertz.
I don't either. I'm just
at this rate. Yeah.
But they also love Colson Yankoff too, which
they do.
And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. No. Now, if we had a fully healthy, good Zach Ertz and a Chika Okonkwo, and we were still in love with Colson Yankoff, I'd be like, okay, look, come, let's get it together. We got 2 good blocking tight ends. Pick one of them, But with the situation where we have 2 tight ends that block, and the third is, our receiving option. Ben and John are going to combine. I would take the under on 20 catches for the entire season combined. So then you have options there. But unless that, not opportunity, but unless that presents itself, I think we're right on the money here with the 4 backs.
Yeah. So moving on to the big boys, as I know this is your favorite part. You start looking through the trenches. It's the offensive line. Last year we kept 9. I'm going to go on that same track, and we keep 9. It's easy. Tunsil, Connerly Jr.
Yep.
Wiley, Scott, Allegretti, because he's going to be your center to start. Golbin, because he'll be your center of the future. Chris Paul, Sam Cosmi, Brandon Coleman. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. This is your 9. And people can say, oh, but what about so and so? These are your starting offensive line based on camps, based on press conferences, based on everything betwixt and between. This is going to be how your starting Commanders offensive line is going to look.
Yeah. And my biggest thing here is I was recounting that when you were talking. That's my bad. But I was like, as you're typing, I'm like, is that 9? But yeah.
You're right.
But yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. Only person that I could see, well, I shouldn't say the only person, but just kind of depending on what you need more, right? Like you've got Tunsil and Connerly as your starters with Wiley as your swing, right? Tackle. Yep. And then you've got Allegretti and Golden, who are your centers. And then you've got Paul, Cosme, and Coleman as your guards, right? So if you think about it, really the odd man out would be Trent Scott, because that's, he is a tackle, yeah, but he can play guard. But with the people you have there and the amount of options possible, I just see that he could maybe be out for one of those random ass damn, this guy's actually doing pretty good at center, like one of those unforeseen, damn, who's this guy, something like that. So I could see him getting bumped out for, another center, a true center, to give that flexibility in case Golden isn't ready yet, or, Nick is forced to bump the guard, something like that. But yeah, I could definitely see that, and I still don't think Brandon Coleman not being here is off the table yet, truthfully. So,
that's gonna be the interesting part.
Yeah, because I still don't buy the whole, he can play center, he can play all 3 spots. No, he can't. Because if he could do that,
he would have
played left tackle when you drafted his ass. You wouldn't have bumped him in and then hope to God no one noticed it and that he could do it and that this, that, and the other would work out, and it just never worked out. So, call it what it is, right? He's not the guy you thought he was, which is fine. You miss, sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's really going to come down to, can Allegretti get it done? And, if not, what's Golden got? And then, then you're kind of well, someone's got to do it. So at the end of the day, we have to know what we're doing inside, because we got our 2 bookend guys. We stay healthy, we're fine. Andrew Wiley is a good backup. He's a good tackle. I'm not even going to label him as a backup. I don't want to take anything away from him because he earned his stripes there. And Trent Scott has got the first touchdown catch for Jayden, so he still holds a spot in people's hearts around here. But but yeah, at the end of the day, it's just going to come down to health, just like any other position. So
yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that one. Moving to
go ahead. No, I was going to say one last little cliff note is I always forget my man's name. Herbig. We've brought him into camp. We've brought him into camp 3 years in a row. So it's we like something about the kid. It's just he's not doing enough.
Well, last offseason he retired and then went back to Pittsburgh.
Right. And maybe it's not Herbig. Who's the dude? Who's the dude that we keep getting from the Chargers?
Oh, Foster Sorrell.
Thank you, man. Sorrell. Yes, that's who. Yeah, because when I was saying Herbig, I thought it sounded right, but then as soon as I was saying what I was saying, I'm like, wait a second, no, that's not the tackle.
Yeah. Just that can't be right. 6'8".
Yeah, Sorrell's huge, and we've brought him in 3 years in a row. That's on me. That's my bad. I'll take that one. But like what I said, we brought him in.
Yeah, we kept bringing him in.
But he's clearly not done something that pushes him over the top, right? But now, we know what Brandon Coleman is. We know what Trent Scott is. At the end of the day, maybe he comes in and these are the same, Trent Scott and Brandon Coleman are the same guys he keeps competing against for that roster spot, and he keeps getting beat out. As a grown man, at the end of the day, you can only take defeat so much, but to keep finding out that it's these same 2 dudes that keep getting in the way of you and a check, the switch is either going to get flipped or
Yeah.
you're just going to have to accept defeat and, hang them up. So at the end of the day, I think that is something very something worth keeping an eye on for sure, because he's got the size, man. And, he can definitely play. I mean, he's not going to bump in, but he can play tackle. That's for sure.
He can. He can definitely play tackle. So moving on to the defense, this is where the math is going to start being weird, because the amount of guys we signed and brought in, starting with the defensive line, and I'm pairing D tackle and D end together because that is your defensive line.
Yeah.
Last year we kept 8. I think this year you keep 7.
Okay. Now, before we list, I know we're doing D and D tackles, but are we labeling these guys like this is like we're labeling guys as like a 4-3 defense, correct?
I'm labeling guys as a 3-4 defense, the way they have them listed on commanders.com.
I'm glad I asked, because like linebackers, like are you putting Oweh and Chase on there? Mm-hmm. Like, what do you? Okay, gotcha. I just want, because I want got to put that out there, because there's gonna be
got to put that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am listing these how they are listed on the commanders.com /roster /team-roster, ESPN.com, Rio, was it Rigo's Rag, Hogs Haven's, parent company site, like, Josh Taylor, how everyone else is doing them. I'm making sure we are staying consistent with our content.
Okay.
So this is how, and if you guys see me like looking down, I'm writing these out so I don't forget a name, or if I'm doing the math correctly, that way I can make sure that I'm not doing Steiner math. I don't have a 33-3, 2/3 chance of winning that sacrifice. We ain't doing this around here. So my 7 on the defensive line. And this could change. We could take, maybe a Trent Scott out on the offensive line and you bring in an extra guy on defense. This will change. Payne, Newton, Kinlaw, Tim Settle. Defensive tackles. Armstrong, Wise, Omenahu.
Yeah, you got that one.
These are your D tackles, your first 4 D tackles, and your 3 D ends, because in a 3-4, your pressure comes from your linebackers. Think of TJ Watt and an Alex Smith. Think what's another good? Well, think the Vikings, Jonathan Grenard and Dallas Turner under Brian Flores. Where's Dronte Jones coming from? Brian Flores. So think of it that way.
And then also, you're in the 3-4, your DNs aren't going to be your speed, your speed guy. Yeah. So okay, I'm glad I asked that up front, because me mentally off the cuff, I'm always just a 4-3 base guy. So that's why I'm glad I asked.
No, I'm with you on that one. I'm just making sure we're staying like within the bars of how the team is going to go and how the teams are projected to go, and that's what we're predicting the 53-man roster. So these are the 7 I think make it.
Yeah, I agree. And plus the multiple D formation, like multiple defensive front.
Yep.
That we're going to be running here. Man, there's going to be heavy 3-4, 4-3, 5-2, 3-3-5. There's going to be some crazy stuff in there, man. So you got to be able to run it all. And I do agree that, with Dorrance and Dietrich, those can be both of them can run 4-3 defensive ends, as well as, with 3-4 defensive end, you can run like, your Payne and your Wise, or your Newton and your Paynes, or your whatever, however you want to set it up. But I'm right there with you.
Going to the linebackers /outside linebackers. Outside linebackers meaning, like I said, TJ Watt. We consider TJ Watt an edge rusher, but he's always listed as an outside linebacker. Joshua Josephs was called in as a outside linebacker or a linebacker at the NFL draft. Most of your edge rushers were listed as linebackers, and they will progressively move into their positions. This is where things are going to get interesting. I have 8 because we kept 7 last year. In a 4-3, I'm doing the opposite. I'm giving one less to the D-line, one more to the linebackers. Sonny Styles, obviously.
Yeah.
Leo Chenal, obviously. Frankie Louvu, obviously. And Jordan McGee, obviously.
Okay.
Right? These are your middle. These are your mics. These are your middle of the field. These are your field generals. Your outside linebackers. Clavon Chason. The 2 S's. Odafe Owe, because you gave him that mega contract. Joshua Josephs, your pick. And someone they keep giving a chance, changed his number. And I know I had the wrong number on, the show I did with Asia, but because I forgot he changed his number, Javonte Jean-Baptiste.
Okay. I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that one, but
where do you think I was going with that one?
Because I didn't know if he changed his number or not, but I'm thinking more Kain Medrano there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where this is where that's going to be fun is, do they do a Kain Medrano? You know what? Let's make that a slash.
Yeah, because truthfully, Javonte, Jesus Christ, JJB, right?
Yep.
I mean, he's beefy. He's solid, right? Like he could definitely play your 3-4 D end as well, in my opinion, over the outside. Now obviously there's packages and stuff, but we'd be sitting here talking about that all night. But in your typical just 3-4, I don't see him as, that outside, go get after it guy. But only because of what we have. Like we have a type, like Chason, Owe, Joseph's, like they're speed rushers, like go get it done, make a man miss, and go attack the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Same as like Louvu. Like Louvu could be sprinkled because we've been trying to make him a thing. You know what I mean? And, with him being on the outside as well, I could even see it. And, we've talked before, like, I still think McGee's got a lot he's got to prove. He's got to prove a lot to me, truthfully. Like,
that's fair.
Like he flashes and he's got the intangibles or whatever, but now we have Sonny Styles now. Okay. Like we have a guy who does the same thing and he's way more prolific and, no one's going to, unless he pops off the screen, he might not make team, truthfully, in my opinion. But with a guy like Kain Medrano, who is fast as hell, man, and super, super, super athletic. Like I haven't compared him, but I bet you he crushed Joseph's in every category at the combine. And if they're both going to play edge, I mean, what does it matter? Because now with Kain Medrano, now imagine now you can put like Leo Chenal like on one side, like on the long side of the field, right? And now you got Kain on the short side. And now Kain will just stick with a running back or a tight end on the short side. And now you got Chenal who's doing the exact same thing, but now he's on the wide side because he can cover better. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I think that's a hell of a threat. Everyone always thinks, 3rd and 10 or, 3rd and 8, pin your ears back, go get after the quarterback. But I've watched this team a long time, man. And like we just don't have guys who can just pin their ears back and go get after the quarterback. Like Kerrigan and Arakpo is probably the best thing we've had that I've been alive for, right? And that I've witnessed. But at the same time,
and that was some years ago.
Yeah, and and when I was younger, we had like, the Andre Carters and stuff like that who could do it and get it done. And Preston Smith was cool or whatever, but like we've never had like, a guy like Owe who, or like, hopefully Owe where you can just say like that, 3rd and 10, we're at least going to make a move. We're going to get the quarterback out the way. Like how many 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s plus, have we watched Jalen Hurts stand back there for 20 seconds, or roll out for a 30-yard rush, or Tony Romo stand back there for 12 seconds and then find Dez Bryant, 80 yards up the field. So, we've never really had that. So at the end of the day, like, why don't we just use what we got, and hopefully we've got the Oways or the Chase-Ons or something like that, or the Newton or the Payne who can break free and, pressure the quarterback. Meanwhile, we've got Kain Medrano and Leon Chanel just shutting down two sides of the field, on little dump off. So that's how I view our defense, especially because I love the 3-3-5, as a West Virginia football fan, right? We've been running that shit before people even knew you were allowed to do that. And Kain can do that. He can go play your bandit. And like that bandit position, if you've look at college football, man, like you got these dudes that are getting drafted and they're like, what position is he, a linebacker? They're like, no, he played bandit. And you're, if you can do that, man, like you bring a lot to the team. You can blitz as the outside rusher. You can cover as a middle linebacker, and you can drop into like a rover corner / safety backer type of deal and just keep everything in front of you. So that's why I picked Kain over John Baptiste, just because John Baptiste, Omenihu, are they any different? In my opinion, no.
Right.
I mean, they might literally be. I've never seen them in the same room, so they could be the same guy.
Right.
But no, that's basically how I see it. So I'll get off my soapbox, but that's what I see it as.
Yeah, the front seven is going to be interesting how they won. Like they might not keep like Dedrick Wise is still injured. Then obviously you take one off the D line. You have one. You add both these guys back to linebackers. If they only keep 5 wide receivers, now you can keep 9 linebackers. Like they're going to figure this part out. Yeah. But obviously, you're going to do like half offense, half defense, and then your 3 special teams. Like, that's no difference. It's just going to depend on what they like more. John Baptiste's edge ability or Medrano's more Luvu, McGee style speed and size. Like, I think that's going to be the problem they're going to figure out.
But the 7 D lineman minimum is spot on, in my opinion, because – and then this is my last little thing, too, is that and this is more me just being nitpicky on the actual like LBD line, not the actual player making the team, but Wise and Armstrong both, right? Like those were some brutal injuries. And when Wise went down, who got playing time? JJB. When Dortons went out, who started? JJB. So like he's there. Like he'll be a more D end, in my opinion, just for the strict fact of like that's where he's just been playing. But Dorrance and Dietrich come back fully healthy, ready to go week 1. I truthfully
something's changing.
Yeah, I truthfully don't see a spot for JJB on the team, honestly.
That's fair.
Just because I would pick E over Baptiste. So
no, that's totally fair, and I want these to have like little debates and conversations because I want to, like, you and I have these, me and us and Andrew, us and Justin. I want everyone in the comments down below. Out of the 2 listed in red, Javonte Jean Baptiste or Kain Medrano, let us know who you would have making the 53. Right. Both, 1, none. Let us know in the comments because I think that's a fascinating discussion. Is if we do 7 and 8, where are you putting? Are you doing 8 and 8, and you're sacrificing a receiver, you're sacrificing a running back, you're sacrificing a corner, and we don't have too many on the roster right now as is.
Yep.
This is where a good conversation lies. And going into cornerbacks and safeties, based on last year's depth chart, we got 5 corners and 5 safeties. I'm keeping the same thing. I'm going 5 and 5. Simply because that's how math works. You have Amos, Mikey,
easy,
Robertson, Robertson, Keller Witherspoon, and Antonio Hamilton Sr.
God, that's so bad. This is where my heart starts hurting when we talk about corner. I wish we would have did this one last. God, this is just the one that like it hurts my soul, man.
It hurts. It hurts.
I just don't like. This is why the 3-3-5, I think, is what we're gonna have to, or 4-2-5. Like just what's down in distance, that kind of thing. but 5 DBs minimum all the time on the field because I've been racking my brain on trying to start an 11-man defense without including Cross, Harris, Reeves, and Quan. Like it's it's hard to do that. Like there was times where I could get 4 off, but there's still 3, like because Mikey and Amos, obviously, right?
Yep.
You're gonna want a Meek because of his story and
speed
all this other stuff.
Veteranness.
That's surrounding him, but there's no way that Nick Cross isn't on the field. There's no way Will Harris isn't on the field. And my man Revo has been a Redskin football player commander through and through. You know what I mean? Like he is DC, man. And like he puts it out there on the line. And I just can't imagine. And especially because the thing that's hard for me is because you already know how I am with Quan. Like I like Quan a lot. And he's the only safety that doesn't come down in the box and fill on the run game. He's the only one we have. So it's kind of like, what do we do? Like we've got 2 corners that can cover kind of sometimes, hopefully okay, right? Like just be mediocre for me more than you're not. And then you've got 3 safeties who run downhill and, will hurt you if you run the ball. So it's like, why don't we just throw against this team? So this is why this position, everyone's like, Brandon Ayuk this, Debo that, and Stephon Diggs this. It's like, man, go get a damn corner. Like somebody, even if it is the other Diggs, right? Trey, as long as they just bring somebody in to compete, man, because I like Carlin Vickers last year because just of his size and his upside, but no. That's just not a recipe for success going into preseason. Like, who's going to make it? 32-year-old Antonio Hamilton, or is it going to be 21-year-old raw Carlin Vickers who's 6'4"? You know what I mean? That it's just tough to say. So
it is, and I've gone to bat these guys past couple of weeks since we got him for a Malik Spencer or a Jeffrey Mba to make the roster, and I'll talk about them, maybe on separate videos. But that would have to depend on injuries. Unfortunately, that would have to depend on if the team really doesn't like Tyler Owens, if Quan Martin or Dartavius, as I'm calling him, doesn't do well, if Will Harris doesn't do well, if Reeves is stuck somewhere, if Kinlaw or Newton does really bad, they get sneak their ways, or if for whatever reason something just clicks in camp and they go, we like Mba's ability to get to the passer rather than Newton's, or we like Malik's ability to get to the football rather than Dartavius. There's gonna be plenty of camp battles, and those are 2 I would put on the roster if I could. The math just can't compute. That's not how math works. You need 25 makes 53, special teams makes 53. They just won't make it, unfortunately. But then you bring them in as restricted free agents on your practice squad, and you keep them there forever until you're needed. And they could be a rotation piece, and they were high on them in the begin with. So that's why. But if we're projecting it right now, pen to paper, what I expect it to be: Cross, Martin, Harris, Reeves, Owens, Amos, Semerso, Malik, or Robertson, Witherspoon, Hamilton in your secondary.
Yeah. What's that really young corner's name that's on our team right now? I think he came from the Giants.
Trey Hawkins III.
Maybe that for some reason that wasn't the name that I was thinking, but he's from the Giants, right?
Yeah, Trey Hawkins. Yeah.
So I think that there's going to be someone younger that hasn't been on our team at the corner, as a corner, that'll make it over Owens, in my opinion. I don't see us keeping 5 safeties, because Tyler Owens is another one. He's a freak athlete. Yeah, At the end of the day, I'd be more willing for them to like cut McGee and put Owens at the backer rather than keep him at safety. So, you know, it's just little things like that because
Well, I mean, to counteract that though, well, Revo and Tyler Owens play special teams well, especially Reeves. But you see Tyler Owens make anytime you see Tyler Owens come across your screen, it's normally for a special teams play, and you've got to fill that out too. That's where
I really think about that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's where they come in. That's where if Medrano makes the roster, that's where he'll kind of go in there. I would suspect Leo to get some snaps on special teams. So there's your 25 offense, your 25 defense, and then we'll just wrap things up with special teams. And I'm going to make this controversial. You have Tressway. You have Tyler Ott.
Oh, I think we're going in the same boat right here. You can go and put his name down.
I'm going Drew Stevens.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, we can't go. I mean, well, yeah, we could get worse, but listen, like I'm so just mute to a damn kicker these days, man. I don't give him. Just don't give me the same one I had last year, and I'll be okay with it. And then if he starts sucking in the middle of the year, get rid of him, get another one. Let's just keep moving this thing along until we can get somebody that's somewhat decent. I'm right there with you, man. Give the kid a shot. We know exactly what we got, and I don't even want to say his name. I feel like he's just gonna haunt my dreams. And I try
living my dreams.
Yeah, I try not to say any of the kickers' names, man. They just haunt me. They don't get my respect. But it was like, what's that dude's name from? Wasn't it the dude from the Giants who was calling RG3 Bill or whatever? Mm-hmm. He was like, he doesn't get RG3 until he earns it or whatever. Like Human Yor or some shit like that. I forget who it was. But
you're like, come on, bro.
Yeah, like stuff like that, But at the end of the day, man, I'm with you. Drew Stevens, give the kid a shot. If they're tying in practice, and they're, I forget the last stat I saw from that OTA. It was like they both went 9 for 10 or 10 for 11 or something like that, and
they both went 18 for 18, longs of 58 and 60.
Yeah, that's what it was. I knew like they made the exact same amount of kicks, but one of them literally just had a 2-yard extra kick. And whether that was Moody or Stevens, like I don't give a damn who kicked the one 2 yards longer. At the end of the day, like if Drew Stevens is keeping up with what we already have, we can't be worse. Like he has the upside, and we just keep trotting out kickers where they are legitimately telling us as a front office, a coaching staff, and announcers, well, this guy's never made a 49-yarder, and you're like, Jesus Christ, like isn't that
like an
extra point now? Like kick the damn ball. 2 degrees with snow and 25-mile-an-hour winds. Okay,
great,
sure. But a 35-yarder in a dome in the middle of November, you better get your shit together because I can't take it anymore. I literally cannot. I can't watch it, man. I can't watch it. Like cut the damn kicker and literally just run out there with Tress and Tyler Ott and never kick an extra point the rest of our lives. And then if it comes down to us kicking an extra point to win, let Tressway do it. I trust his ass to do it more than anybody else. So I'll live and die with Tress if he misses an extra point for a game winner. You know what I mean? But a kicker consistently doing it, it's just I can't do it anymore.
Can't do it. So you and I have been in kind of stride for stride the whole time. So let us recap our 53-man roster real quick. On the offense, Daniels, Mariota, Calicomanis, your quarterbacks. Bill, Rashad, Katron, Big Nichols, your running backs. Terry, I call him AW. So Antonio Williams, Lukey Pookie, Jaylen, Diami, Traylon. Those are your wide receivers. If y'all watch the Burgundy breakdown off season, y'all know about your spooky Lukey Pookies. Y'all tap in real quick.
I almost said spooky Luke earlier, but I was like, no, let me That's not. I don't want people thinking that originated with me. So.
No, you good. Chig, John, Ben, those are your tight ends. Tunzel, Connolly, Wiley, Scott, Allegretti, Golbin, Paul, Cosme, Coleman. That's your offensive line. That is 25 pieces on the offense. Defense, Payne, Newton, Kinlaw, Settle, Armstrong, Wise, and Wenu. Your D-line, Styles, Chanel, Luvu, McGee, Chason, Odefeowe, Joshua Josephs, JJB, or Kain Medrano. You guys tell us in the comments who you think should make the roster between those two for your linebacking core. Your secondary, covering the skies. Amos, Mikey, Robertson, Witherspoon, Hamilton, Cross, Martin, Harris, Revo, Owens. Those are your 10 secondary players. And then Way, and Stevens, WAS, WS. So however you want, if you want to make an acronym, let's make an acronym. Your 3 special teams, 25 plus 25 plus 53 is your 53-man roster.
Yep, and yep, I'm right there with you. And I'm gonna ask the people in the comments, go ahead and comment what you want. What formation are we best suited for? Game 1 against Philly, it's 1st and 10. We brought the defense out on the field. What defense are we setting up in? I am very curious to see what side of the ball we're on. If we're on your side with the 3-4 or the traditional just 4-3 for me personally, I lean more towards the 3-3-5 with the way everything's going with everybody we got is fast and can cover rather than big and strong and can, dominate an O-line. So that's where I see it. Plus, that's the way of the world now, right? But it's passing league, get more DBs out there, help you out. But at the end of the day, where do y'all stand? I'm very curious to see that. So
I'm very curious, y'all too. Let us know in the comments what formation you think we're running walking into week 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles. And frankly, I'm going to answer this question, then we're going to get up out of here because I think if we run that out to 53 minutes or 53-man roster, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Let us know in the comments the formation between Javonte Jean-Baptiste and Kain Medrano. And in the comments, let us know what player are you most worried about getting cut? Luvu, Luke, Diami, Coleman, Wise. Maybe it's Witherspoon. Let us know in the comments. McGee, let us know in the comments what player are you most worried about getting cut come roster time. But that is going to wrap things up here for our 53-man roster predictions. Hit that subscribe button on your way out. We're on the road to 1,100 subscribers. We are 11 away. So share with a friend, share with your classmates, share with all your football buddies. Get them to subscribe to Ballin and Burgundy podcast. We are on the road to 1,100, like I said. Hit that notification bell so every time that we upload here at BIB. And then I will see y'all later tonight, roughly 9 o'clock Eastern, for the Burgundy Breakdown. Myself, Reedy, Z, and one guy talking sports. But until then, guys, raise hail, and don't forget to stay ballin'. We will see y'all out there.